wanted to pay a tribute to legacy because I do think that when you ask questions and when you learn more about your family and your culture, I think that you're able to kind of find more of an identity of yourself and be able to connect with your past. And I think in order to really move forward with ourselves, I think we need to look back at that past and see where we, you know, can connect the dots and move forward. My family is from Peru, and I also have family from Mexico, but I've learned so much, and I think just the part of holding on to culture, but also understanding that my family came out here, you know, and were able to create their own community from themselves. And I think that it's something that's really beautiful, and I wanted to do that through food today. I really think that we can do something beautiful just here, just sharing a meal and having conversation. So thank you.
So it's been an honor to be a part of this, actually. And I think the process that was the most interesting for me and the best part was honestly having to sit down with you to learn your culture, to be able to do it some justice. And I really do hope that I did it some justice today. Really, my philosophy myself is being able to take something so simple as a meal and to invite somebody else into my world, invite somebody else into my history, my legacy through food. And to be able to do this today and have more conversations around these themes is a beautiful thing. And I think food is the great middle ground. It helps break down people, reduces our barriers, and then you really find out at the end of it that we all have more in common than we have differences. So it's been a pleasure. You guys enjoy. Thank you.
Thank you.
So at the table, so we have yuca fries. As you know, or some of you guys might not know, but yuca is definitely, it's a Latin staple. We have it in Peru. It's almost like a potato, but it has it's a different flavor, but it's really good. And then, as she mentioned, we have the chimichurri. We have a green sauce. So that is a huancaína sauce. It has ají amarillo, which is a hot yellow pepper. It shouldn't be too spicy, but yeah, that can go with the yuca too. The chimichurri can go with the yuca. As we go, these are kind of like the sauces that we have on the table always. Like you just kind of put it on the side with your food. And then that is a olive and feta salad. I really want to learn more about you guys, and I think a great way to do that is to share some stories of your family members. So if you have someone that you felt like either paved the way for your legacy or just someone that you just really look up to, and I just think that would be a great way to start conversation today.
I grew up like remembering having a bunch of different parties just because it was Tuesday. Like my stepdad would call his friends, my mom would call her friends, and we just all coming over, hanging out, chilling. And so in my adult years, it was the same thing. Just, hey, where you at? All right, I'm coming over. And so looking up to like my mom and my sister, those are the two people that I just always looked up to, because I always watched my mom just put in all her hard work to make sure that we could have what we needed and some of what we wanted to, but we never saw her cry. I never saw her complain about what she had to do. She just put her best foot forward. Same thing with my sister.
Yeah.
But they always handled everything with humor and jokes and laughing, so it's just always seeing like the upbeat, happy people that they are, but also knowing like behind these get-togethers and all of that, it's a bunch of hard work.
So my grandfather came in the 60s and he was 19. He had no family out here. He had like a family friend, aunt, but he had no family out here, and he came out here. In Peru, he was actually going to join the military, and he had an accident with like something with his hand, and he wasn't able to join. So his family basically kind of advised him, like, you have that aunt out there. They're, I don't know, just told him about the United States, and he went out there, and that's kind of how he started. So, and if you know, my grandfather, like my grandfather is someone that is very community. Like my grandfather came out there, he's now like, he's been the head of a church group. He was part of like it was called Club Peru, which was a club for Peruvians, but it started as like a soccer club, and then it just kind of transformed into a social club. And it was like family, friends, they would get together on the weekends, but it was a bunch of Peruvians, and they just, you know, they met each other through soccer and just kind of formed community. So that's like my role model when it comes to like community and bringing people together. And he's always someone that embraces culture. He's sitting at the table and he is telling every story like it just happened yesterday. And he spent most of his adult life out here in the States. So it's just funny, you know, that regardless of where you are, like he takes so much pride in that.
For me, it came from my grandmother. And when I think about legacy now, it's so interesting because I am actually coming full circle with like the place that I first cooked my first meal, and now I live in that place. And it is a very rugged situation, but also it's like the legacy that I now hold is like a torch for me that burns so bright, and it holds so much weight, you know. A lot of people aren't left tangible things, and my grandparents, like, they didn't have much, and they really didn't even keep what they had in order. They left it to me in shambles, but they left me something. And so for me, that legacy is so important. Now I get to change like the trajectory of what was. So yeah, I have to thank my grandparents for that. You know, to me, it's an honor.
My mom lived in the southwest of Colombia in a very hot weather, 100 degrees, but it was dry. My dad worked in the capital where it's cold, but it was 5 hours in car apart, and he had to live there. My mom didn't like cold weather, and she was a teacher in her town, so she had to live there, right? And my dad was always traveling. Thankfully, he climbed the corporate ladder and was traveling all across the South America, then Europe, and then the United States, and that's how we came here, because his ability to just navigate the corporate world. But just the fact that in 13 years they had lived seeing each other maybe 24 weeks out of the year, maybe you'll go once a weekend every month, if I can remember correctly. And that went on and on for so long. And just, you know, when I'm the youngest, when my sister was born, she almost died, but he was in the middle of the field because he was a petroleum engineer, in the middle of the field, you know, with 1 foot up and trying to get signal to see how my sister was doing. So just all of that resiliency that was passed down without us knowing, and even without them knowing, it's something that's very inspiring.
And I can't speak for everyone's parents. Everybody has a different relationship. But I think for the vast majority of the people that I met, their parents tried their best to do what they could. All of us are flawed, you know what I'm saying? Nobody's perfect. So that's how I started giving grace to my parents, and seeing them is, like you said, like you start seeing them as human, but you also start seeing like their vulnerabilities. And as they're aging, I don't know what age y'all's parents are, but I'm like life is so real, like, and it's so fleeting and it's so quick, you know what I mean? Now I'm like
the China, like Vicky, like you said, like we have a China, my grandma has a China cabinet, and everyone's like, man, like, what are you gonna do with this? Like
my grandmother, she collected crystal, like real lead crystal.
Yeah.
I didn't realize like how much that stuff would like mean to me until I lost her.
Yeah.
Like in 2018, I lost my grandmother, and I was like, you can't throw away the lead crystal. You can't throw it away. Yeah. Give it to me. I want it. Like, because it made me realize, like, it made me remember her. Yeah. Because I remember all the kids that would come over to her house. She, no matter how young they were, she would not move that lead, that crystal, nothing from her table. They would be 1 year old sitting there trying to touch it, and she'd be like, no. I said no. Yeah. Her soft, But stern tone, I said no. So it's like, when you think about things like that, sometimes you have to be really mindful that these things years ago.
Yeah.
Like, they don't even make lead crystal anymore.
Yeah.
My grandmother was the only one who I know who had lead crystals here. We still have it in the box over there.
So I got my first corporate job, first big girl job. And I was like, all right, let me start working. Day one, I knew that was not day one. And I told my mom that, and you can imagine after 2 degrees and then all that, it's just like, you know, you would, even in our culture, like Ethiopian culture, a lot of cultures, but, you know, specifically in our culture, I know, like, if you go there with your parents, you can expect there to be some, you know, like, tension, right? But my mom was the most supportive. When I say she sat me down, she's like, tell me what you're gonna do. And I was like, I think this is what I'm gonna do, you know? But it was just the support, the amount of love and support that she showed me. I was just like, you are like the epitome of the mother and the woman that I wanna, like, you know, like that just showed me so much love and support. Just having like a support system like that. And I mean, there's been tons of support from friends and family as well, but like specifically with her, like that woman is my backbone. Like, and so for me, it's like it's taught me so much to really like be the friend, the partner, all the things that's really gonna be there for people, that's really gonna stick it through with people, even through the good and the bad. So yeah, that's my biggest role model for sure. Butternut squash and black bean enchilada with mole sauce.
Okay. My dad was more of he always talks about common sense. So him and my grandfather never really, they weren't on the same stratosphere when it came to that. My grandfather was about book knowledge. My dad was about common sense. But my grandfather would always be about education, and I never understood it. It actually was kind of annoying at the time, because it's like you couldn't do anything normal. He was always kind of like, what are you? What are you doing? You had to be someone. Mm-hmm. You know, like your name had to be known, and I did not understand it. And even like there was one time when I was in middle school, and I missed my bus, and he took me to school, and I was just hoping he was going to drop me off and just keep going, but he like parks the car and he gets out, and I'm like, oh Lord, what is he doing? And so like we're walking to the hall, he's like telling other kids like, you need to get the class here and there and blah blah blah. Mm-hmm. And like all the teachers would be acting so funny around him, like they'd be like, do you know who his grandfather is, and this, that, the other. And then and I asked my dad about it after he was already deceased, like a couple years ago. And it turns out I didn't know it, but at the time my grandfather was on the State Board of Education. Mm-hmm. And he was and not only was he on the State Board of Education, he was the one that instituted the rule that's used down to this day, which is the no play rule in Texas, where you can't play without passing your academics. Oh, wow. So that was his accomplishment while he was on the State Board of Education. And he also made it to where if you were a teacher, you could also be a part of the State Board of Education. Before that, you couldn't be on both. So you could be serving as a teacher and be on the State Board of Education. And I learned a lot of these things like after he already had passed, and realized that he was motivating me all along. And I didn't know it, and it was motivations that I wasn't necessarily going to get from my dad, because that just wasn't him. You know, so I feel like he did a lot of that without me really knowing. And then after the fact, you know, it kind of started making a lot more sense. And then I was able to actually understand it and kind of go back and apply some of the things I had been learning.
Pumpkin donuts, and then we have a hot chocolate. And this is actually made from chocolate from Venezuela.
Yes.
So.
Oh.
Okay. So I just want to say thank you again, everyone, for coming. And I do want to kind of end this dinner with a declaration. So I do want us to, you know, exchange contacts.
I don't like nobody here.
Exchange contacts, you know, and but yeah, I want each of us to kind of say a declaration of what you want whether it's you took from this dinner or you're declaring something you're gonna do after this dinner, whether it's you want to plan to do afterwards. All right. Okay, so I will start. I declare that I want to do something with Legacy Circle, so I want to take it a step further. I would like to do more things like this and just kind of spread my wings. Ooh. So
I like that one. Salud. Here's to more executing all year long. That's my word for 2024 is to execute. So more contracts, more events,
yes,
more brand deals, all those things. And here's to being a bad bitch.
yes. Hey!
I go, come on. Right.
I declare that I'm going to continue to try my best to make sure that Houston looks a certain way and has a seat at the table with the other cities like New York, Chicago, LA. To make, just make sure we're represented the way we should.
Okay.
My greater will be better than my past. And that I will focus on my purpose driven things, and like you, I'll finish what I start. And since we're declaring, I'm also rebuking imposter syndrome.
Yes, share it to that. There's a lot of that. Yes.
Beautiful thing, and I just have to say, like, you taking the time to curate this experience, to bring people together, to really, I mean, a lot of us don't really know each other like that, and so for us to be at the table to dine and to just commune like this is beautiful.